Thought they could expose, the one they tried to crack open like a... Look who they thought they could expose, the one they tried to crack open like a cheap safe, thinking they'd find skeletons, thinking they'd find shame, thinking they'd find ammunition for their next character assassination. But instead they found something that made their blood run backwards. They found evidence of what happens when you push someone past human, past breakable, past killable, into something else entirely. Something that doesn't die when you destroy it. Something that feeds on the very poison you tried to inject. They came with their little tools, didn't they? Their screenshots, their saved messages, their mental notes, their whispered theories about who you really are behind closed doors. They thought they were detectives, thought they were investigators, thought they were about to solve the mystery of why you walk with that particular brand of silence that makes rooms uncomfortable. But what they discovered wasn't dirt. It was documentation of evolution. It was proof that some people don't break under pressure, they crystallize. They don't crumble under betrayal, they weaponize. They don't die from abandonment, they resurrect with interest. Let me tell you what really happened when they broke into your private life, when they violated your boundaries, when they searched through your history like grave robbers looking for gold. They weren't prepared for what they found, were they? Because instead of finding weakness, they found war plans. Instead of finding vulnerability, they found battle scars that looked like roadmaps to places they'd never survive. Instead of finding the soft underbelly they could exploit, they found armor so thick their weapons bounced off and hit them in the face. You see, they expected to find a victim story, something they could twist, something they could leak, something they could use to justify why they treated you like disposable furniture. But what they found was a survivor's manifesto written in languages they don't teach in schools, written in pain they've never tasted, written in transformations they'll never achieve, because transformation requires death first. And these people, they're too attached to their comfortable lies to ever die properly, to ever resurrect correctly, to ever become what you've become through pure, unfiltered suffering. They should have known better, shouldn't they? The signs were always there, in your controlled silence, in your measured responses, in the way you never quite showed all your cards, even when they thought they had you cornered, even when they thought they had you figured out. There was always that little something behind your eyes that whispered, "Careful, this one's different. This one's been places you can't follow. This one's survived things that would turn you into dust." But they ignored the warnings, didn't they? Because their ego told them you were conquerable. Their arrogance told them you were readable. Their stupidity told them you were just another puzzle to solve, another person to categorize, another soul to file away in their little mental cabinet of conquered territories. But you were never territory. You were the earthquake that destroys maps. You were the storm that rewrites geography. You were the natural disaster they mistook for nice weather. Every time they dug deeper into your business, they found another layer of complexity that made their heads hurt. Every conversation they tried to decode led to revelations about their own inadequacy. Every secret they thought they uncovered turned out to be a mirror, showing them exactly what they lacked, what they feared, what they could never become, because becoming requires courage. And these people, they're cowards dressed in confidence costumes. They're weakness wearing strength masks. They're hollow points pretending to be full stops. They thought your privacy was hiding shame, but your privacy was containing power. They thought your secrets were scandals, but your secrets were strategies. They thought your silence was submission, but your silence was a countdown. And now the timers hit 0 and they're standing in the blast radius of their own curiosity, wondering why everything tastes like regret, Why everything sounds like warning bells. Why everything feels like the moment before a car crash when you know it's too late to brake. Let's inventory what they discovered, shall we? When they went through your messages, they found conversations with your demons on a first-name basis. They found you negotiating with pain like it was a business partner. They found you making deals with suffering like it was a mentor teaching you advanced courses in human endurance. They found you talking to rock bottom like an old friend who's always got your back when everyone else has turned theirs. In your photos, they didn't find incriminating evidence. They found documentation of resurrection. They found before and after pictures of someone who died 17 times and came back 18. They found visual proof that some people can walk through fire and come out more beautiful, not despite the burns, but because of them. They found images that should have been obituaries but turned into origin stories. They found selfies that looked like warning labels, that looked like caution signs, that looked like prophecies written in pixels. When they searched your history, they found searches for how to rebuild when there's nothing left. They found research on psychological warfare and spiritual combat. They found evidence of someone studying their own destruction, like a scientist studying a failed experiment, not to prevent it, but to perfect it. They found the blueprint of someone who learned to architect their own apocalypse and then live in it like a palace. Your playlist told them everything they needed to know, but were too stupid to understand. Songs about rising, songs about revenge, songs about becoming something unrecognizable, songs that sound like war drums in a language that predates human speech, songs that make comfortable people uncomfortable, songs that sound like the soundtrack to everyone's worst nightmare about what happens when the person they underestimated finally stops underestimating themselves. And then it hit them, didn't it? That cold sweat realization that they hadn't broken into your private life to find your weakness. They had broken into a crime scene where they were the perpetrator, and you were the evidence. They hadn't discovered your secrets. They had discovered their own verdict. They hadn't found dirt. They had found their own burial ground, pre-dug and waiting with their names already carved in stones they'll never be able to lift. The panic set in when they realized you knew, when they realized you had always known, when they realized every time they thought they were watching you, you were documenting them. Every time they thought they were gathering intelligence, you were building a case. Every time they thought they were 10 steps ahead, you were so far beyond them. You were watching from a different dimension, laughing at their two-dimensional thinking in your three-dimensional reality. You let them break in, didn't you? Like leaving cheese out for mice. You wanted to see, you wanted them to find what you left for them to find, the carefully curated chaos, the strategically placed evidence of your evolution, the breadcrumbs that led not to your destruction but to theirs, because sometimes the best trap is an open door. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people see exactly who they tried to destroy and failed. They came looking for skeletons and found a graveyard, but not yours. Oh no, they found the graveyard of every version of you they tried to kill and failed. They found tombstones with inscriptions like, "Here lies the person who trusted too easily, killed by betrayal, resurrected as someone who trusts themselves exclusively. Here lies the person who loved without boundaries, killed by manipulation, resurrected as someone whose boundaries are prison walls. Here lies the person who explained themselves, killed by misunderstanding, resurrected as someone who doesn't need to be understood to be unstoppable." What they found wasn't just personal information, it was a warning label, written in experiences they'll never have, in pain they'll never survive, in transformations they'll never achieve. It said, handle with extreme caution. Contents under pressure may explode if disturbed, may cause severe reality distortion, may result in permanent damage to ego and self-perception. Side effects include realizing you were always the villain, insomnia from guilt, nausea from truth, and chronic regret syndrome. The warning label continued, this person has been professionally destroyed and rebuilt by experts. This person has been tested in conditions that violate human rights. This person has survived what was designed to be unsurvivable. This person is no longer operating under standard human limitations. This person has voided their warranty on giving a damn. This person is not responsible for what happens when you try to break them. Again, this person is the result of every attempt to break them, failing catastrophically. You became the warning story parents tell their children about what happens when you push someone too far. You became the case study psychologists reference when discussing the dangers of underestimating human resilience. You became the legend co-workers whisper about when discussing why some people should never be crossed. You became the reason they check their locks at night, not because you're coming, but because they know they deserve it if you did. They wanted to find something to hold over you, but all they found was evidence that you hold everything over them. Your survival holds power over their cruelty. Your transformation holds power over their stagnation. Your silence holds power over their noise. Your absence holds power over their presence. Because when someone breaks into your life looking for weakness and finds only strength, it doesn't just change the game, it ends it and starts a new one where they don't even know the rules. Now they're sitting with this information, aren't they? And it's eating them alive because they can't use it. They can't weaponize it. They can't share it without revealing themselves as the intruders, the violators, the ones who broke into someone's private life and found their own wanted posters. They're trapped with knowledge that burns, knowledge that reveals them. Knowledge that reveals them realize they were never the predator. They were always the prey, studying their own hunter. They thought they'd sleep better knowing your secrets, but now they can't sleep at all, because every secret they found was a mirror. Every private thought they discovered was a reflection of their own darkness. Every hidden moment they uncovered showed them exactly what they lack, what they'll never have, what they'll never be, because you can't become something by studying it. You become something by surviving what tries to kill. And they've never survived anything harder than their own mediocrity. The irony tastes like copper in their mouth, doesn't it? Because in trying to expose you, they exposed themselves. In trying to find your weakness, they revealed their own. In trying to gather ammunition, they handed you the gun. And now they're standing there realizing that every move they make from now on is being watched by someone who knows exactly what they are, who they are, and what they're capable of, which isn't much compared to someone who's been to hell and decided to stay for the education. You're living rent-free in their head now, but not as a victim, as a consequence, as a reminder, as a warning, as the sound that wakes them up at 3 a.m, wondering if you know what they did, wondering if you're planning something, wondering if your silence is strategy, wondering if your peace is the calm before you decide to demonstrate exactly what they found when they broke into the life of someone who had already been broken and rebuilt with better materials, stronger foundations, and absolutely zero tolerance for their brand of weakness. See, what they don't understand and never will is that privacy isn't about hiding. It's about containing. Privacy isn't about shame, it's about power. Privacy isn't about fear, it's about choosing who deserves to see your truth. And they proved they didn't deserve it. They proved they couldn't handle it. They proved that some people shouldn't have access to certain information because they're not equipped to process it properly. You've become their education and consequences, their masterclass in underestimation, their PhD in what happens when you violate someone who's already been violated by experts and survived. You're not just living your life, now you're haunting theirs. Not as a ghost, but as a reality check that bounces every day, reminding them that they played with matches and found someone who was already fire, who had already burned, who had already learned to love the taste of ash. They're stuck now, aren't they? Because they can't unknow what they know. They can't unsee what they've seen. They can't unfeel the weight of realizing they were never in control. They were never ahead. They were never smart enough to understand that sometimes when you break into someone's life, you don't find treasure, you find a trap. You don't find weakness, you find a weapon. You don't find dirt, you find your own burial plot. Every time they see you now, they remember what they found, and it makes them physically uncomfortable because they know you know they were in your business. They know you know they tried to violate your boundaries. They know you know exactly what kind of people they are, and that knowledge sits between you like a loaded gun that only you know how to fire, and they're just waiting. Wondering how you'll remind them that breaking and entering has consequences even when the door was unlocked, especially when it was unlocked on purpose. But here's what really terrifies them. You documented everything, didn't you? Their invasion, their violation, their desperate search for something to use against you. You've got receipts they didn't know existed. Evidence they didn't know you were collecting, proof of their obsession with trying to destroy you. And now they're realizing that while they were building a case against you, you were building a fortress out of their attempt. Every screenshot they took, you have the metadata for every conversation they saved. You have the context for every moment they thought they were gathering intelligence. You were letting them reveal themselves, letting them show their hand, letting them expose their own desperation to find something, anything that would justify their treatment of you. But all they found was evidence that they were always the problem, never the solution. Always the disease, never the cure. You've got files on them now, don't you? Not because you're vindictive, but because you're thorough. Not because you're planning revenge, but because you learned that documentation is protection, that evidence is armor, that keeping receipts is keeping yourself safe from people who rewrite history to make themselves the hero of stories where they were always the villain, always the disaster, always the reason someone had to become something harder than human just to survive. There was Ilya. They wanted to find your diary but found your dissertation on survival. They wanted to find your weakness but found your weapons manual. They wanted to find your breaking point but found your blueprints for building something unbreakable out of all the times they tried to break you and failed, so spectacularly that even their attempts became part of your strength, part of your story, part of your legend, that they now have to live with knowing they helped create. Nothing's the same now, is it? The dynamic has permanently shifted. The power structure has been revolutionized. The game board has been flipped and set on fire and rebuilt with new rules that only you understand because you wrote them in a language that can only be learned by surviving what they put you through, by enduring what they inflicted, by transforming what they tried to use to destroy you into the very thing that made you indestructible. They can't look at you the same way anymore, can they? because now they know what's behind your smile. Now they know what's beneath your calm. Now they know that your peace isn't weakness. It's the kind of strength that comes from winning wars nobody else saw you fighting. The kind of power that comes from surviving battles nobody else knew were happening. The kind of authority that comes from being your own savior when everyone else was busy being your problem. You walk different now, don't you? Not because you changed, but because they finally see you clearly, finally understand what they were dealing with, finally comprehend that they were never playing with someone breakable. They were playing with someone who had already been broken and chose to rebuild themselves out of materials that don't break twice, out of substances that get stronger under pressure, out of elements that feed on the very things meant to destroy them. The warning label they found is now permanently attached to their memory of you, and it reads, "Danger. Extremely powerful contents may cause severe reality adjustment, may result in permanent alteration of worldview. Side effects include, but are not limited to, understanding that karma has a face, and it looks exactly like the person you tried to destroy. Existential crisis from realizing you were always the villain. Chronic insomnia from wondering what comes next. And the permanent inability to feel safe in the narrative you created, where you were the hero. So here's the truth they'll never admit out loud, but whisper to themselves at 3 in the morning when the weight of what they found keeps them awake. They didn't break into your private life, they broke into their own funeral. They didn't find your secrets, they found their obituary. They didn't discover your weakness, they discovered their expiration date. Because people like you don't expire. You preserve, you don't deteriorate, you evolve. You don't die, you transform. They're living with it now, aren't they? The knowledge that they tried to violate someone who had already been violated and survived. They tried to break someone who had already been broken and rebuilt. They tried to expose someone who had already exposed themselves to worse things than they could ever imagine, and came out wearing their trauma like designer clothing, their pain like jewelry, their survival like a crown that nobody else can lift, let alone wear. You've become their permanent reminder that some people shouldn't be investigated. Some doors shouldn't be opened. Some private lives should remain private, not for the safety of the person living them, but for the safety of the person breaking in. Because sometimes, when you go looking for dirt, you find graves, and sometimes those graves have your name on them. Sometimes those graves are prophecies. Sometimes those graves are promises that haven't been fulfilled yet, but will be. With or without your participation. The warning label is permanent now, tattooed on their consciousness, branded on their memory, carved into their understanding of what happens when you break into the private life of someone who was already broken and chose to become something else entirely. Something that doesn't break anymore. Something that doesn't bend anymore. Something that doesn't need to be understood, to be unstoppable. Something that doesn't need to be liked, to be legendary. Something that doesn't need permission to be powerful beyond their comprehension, beyond their reach, beyond their ability to ever violate again. There it is. Recognition. They finally noticed, didn't they? Hello, you magnificent anomalies, you unexplainable success stories, you midnight architects of impossible comebacks. They keep asking the same question over and over, like a broken record stuck on repeat. Who's helping you? Who's behind this? Who gave you the blueprint? And every time they ask, you smile that knowing smile, that dangerous little grin that says, if only you knew. Because the truth is so much stranger than anything they could imagine, so much darker, so much more powerful than some mentor in a boardroom or a guru on a mountain. They see your transformation and they can't compute it. Yesterday you were drowning. Today you're walking on water. Last year you were invisible, now you cast shadows they can't escape. 6 months ago you were begging for crumbs, now you're building empires in silence. And their little minds can't process this without a middleman, without some secret teacher, some hidden hand pulling your strings. They need there to be someone else because the alternative terrifies them. That you did this yourself, that you found something they'll never have access to, that you tapped into a frequency they can't even hear. Oh, but they're not entirely wrong, are they? There is something helping you, something guiding you, something whispering strategies in the darkness. But it's not what they think, not who they think, not from where they think. It's not some millionaire mentor sliding into your DMs with success secrets. It's not some underground society of achievers pulling you up their ladder. No, it's something far more intimate, far more terrifying, far more power. And the beautiful part? They've been staring at it the whole time without seeing it, because they don't have the eyes to recognize what real power looks like when it's not wearing a suit. Let me paint you a picture of their confusion. They scroll through your posts looking for clues, searching for the puppet master they're convinced exists. They analyze your words, trying to find someone else's voice. They dissect your moves, looking for a pattern that matches some known success formula, but nothing fits. Your rise doesn't follow any blueprint they recognize. Your methods don't match any course they've taken. Your energy doesn't resonate with any mentor they know. And that's when the whispers start. Something's not right here. Someone's helping them. Someone powerful. Someone we can't see. And here's where it gets delicious, where the truth starts bleeding through the cracks of their assumptions. Yes, someone is helping you. Yes, there's a force behind your rise. Yes, you have access to intelligence they don't. But it's not coming from outside, it's coming from within. From a place so deep they'd need to die and be reborn just to glimpse it. You see, while they were collecting mentors like Pokemon cards, you were doing something different. You were building a relationship with the only advisor that actually matters, your shadow self, your dark passenger, the version of you that remembers every betrayal, every lesson, every scar. This shadow mentor doesn't speak in motivational quotes or success principles. It speaks in memories of pain transmuted into power. It doesn't give you 5-step plans or morning routines. It gives you pure, unfiltered intelligence drawn from the deepest wells of your experience. Every time someone betrayed you, your shadow took notes. Every time you failed, your shadow analyzed the data. Every time you bled, your shadow collected the evidence. And now, after years of accumulation, you have access to a database of wisdom that no course could teach, no mentor could provide, no amount of money could buy. They keep looking for your teacher in the light, but your real education happened in the darkness. While they were at seminars taking notes, you were in the trenches taking bullets. While they were reading success stories, you were writing survival stories with your own blood. While they were paying for wisdom, you were earning it through pure endurance. And that shadow that grew behind you through all that pain, it wasn't just observing, it was learning, calculating, preparing for this exact moment when you'd finally be ready to listen to what it had to say. Think about it. Every massive breakthrough you've had lately, where did it really come from? Not from some book or podcast, but from that voice in your head at 3 a.m. that suddenly connected dots you didn't even know existed. That strategic move that blindsided everyone, it came from remembering exactly how someone blindsided you 5 years ago and reverse engineering their tactics. That unshakable confidence that has them all shook, it's not from affirmations. It's from your shadow reminding you of every hell you've already survived, making everything else look like child's play. Let's go deeper into this midnight advisory board you've assembled without even realizing it. Every ghost that haunts you has become a teacher. Every demon you've faced has become a trainer. Every moment of abandonment taught you self-reliance. Every betrayal taught you pattern recognition. Every breakdown taught you breakthrough mechanics. You didn't hire consultants. You consulted your catastrophes. You didn't seek advisors. You advised with your adversities. And that's why your moves seem impossible to track, because they're being guided by intelligence gathered from places others have never been. When they ask, who's helping you? They expect a name, a face, a LinkedIn profile. But how do you explain that your board of directors meets in your dream? How do you tell them your strategy sessions happen in the shower, where all your ghosts gather to compare notes? How do you describe the conference room in your mind, where every version of you that ever existed comes together to plan the next move? They wouldn't understand that your mentor isn't a person but a process. A constant conversation between who you were, who you are, and who you're becoming. You know what really disturbs them? The coherence of your movement despite the apparent absence of guidance. Every step you take seems orchestrated, but they can't find the orchestra. Every decision you make seems calculated, but they can't find the calculator. It's like watching someone dance perfectly to music only they can hear, and it's driving them insane. Because in their world, success requires visible support systems, public mentorship, documented education. But you're operating on intelligence they can't intercept, following a GPS they can't hack, receiving transmissions from a frequency they can't tune into. The shadow helping you doesn't show up in photos. It doesn't have a social media presence. It doesn't offer testimonials or success stories. It offers something far more valuable, the accumulated wisdom of your entire existence, processed through pain, refined through rage, and crystallized through survival. Every mentor they pay thousands to access is trying to teach them what your shadow teaches you for free: how to transform wounds into weapons, how to alchemize trauma into treasure, how to read the matrix because you've seen it glitch. And now we arrive at the part that really makes them squirm. Deep down, in places they don't like to visit, they recognize what's happening. They see in you what they've been running from in themselves. That shadow they've been suppressing, medicating, therapizing away. You made friends with yours? That darkness they've been taught to fear? You learned its language? That pain they keep trying to heal? You turned it into fuel. And watching you thrive with the very things they've been taught to shame makes them question everything they thought they knew about success. They want your results but not your process. They want your power but not your pain. They want your transformation but not your truth. They keep asking who's helping you because they need it to be someone else, someone external, someone they could theoretically access if they just found the right connection. The idea that your helper has been with you all along, that it was forged in your failures and born from your breakdowns, that's too much responsibility for them to accept. because it means they have the same access to the same power. They just lack the courage to claim it. Your shadow mentor doesn't coddle you with comfortable lies. It tells you exactly who betrayed you and why. It shows you patterns others miss, because it remembers everything, forgets nothing, and forgives only strategically. It doesn't promise you'll be happy, it promises you'll be powerful. It doesn't teach you to be liked, it teaches you to be undeniable. It doesn't help you fit in, it helps you stand out so dramatically that fitting in becomes irrelevant. And that's why your success looks different, feels different, moves different. It's not built on inspiration, it's built on integration of every dark truth you've ever encountered. When you make moves now, it's with intelligence they can't access because they haven't paid the price for admission. Your shadow council includes every person who ever underestimated you, serving now as reverse mentors, showing you exactly what not to be. Every door that closed in your face is now an advisor on alternative entrances. Every bridge that burned is now teaching you architecture. Every ghost that haunts you is now part of your intelligence network. You're not just helped, you're informed by a vast network of pain points that became data points that became PowerPoints. Let me tell you what happens when you finally stop fighting your shadow and start consulting it instead. The integration isn't pretty, isn't peaceful, isn't some beautiful spiritual awakening with angels singing. It's brutal. It's sitting alone at night and admitting every harsh truth you've been avoiding. It's acknowledging that half your problems came from your own patterns. It's recognizing that your shadow saw everything coming, but you refused to listen. It's the humbling realization that your darkness is actually your intelligence agency, and you've been treating it like an enemy when it was trying to be your ally. The shadow doesn't speak in words. It speaks in knowing. That gut feeling you get about someone, that's your shadow's threat detection system, built from every betrayal you've experienced. That sudden clarity about a situation, that's your shadow connecting patterns from similar scenarios in your past. That unexpected strategic insight, that's your shadow's war room, where every battle you've ever fought is analyzed for applicable tactics. You're not receiving new information. You're finally accessing information that was always there, archived in the depths of your experience. This is why your transformation seems so sudden to them but feels so inevitable to you. You didn't suddenly get help, you suddenly started listening to help that was always available. You didn't find a mentor, you found yourself. You didn't receive secret knowledge, you accessed knowledge that was secret from yourself. And now that the channel is open, now that communication is established, the intelligence flows constant. Every interaction becomes data. Every observation becomes strategy. Every experience becomes education. They ask, who's helping you? Because they see you moving with supernatural precision. You dodge bullets they didn't even see coming. You capitalize on opportunities they didn't know existed. You navigate complexity like you have a map they can't access. And you do have a map, drawn by every wrong turn you've ever taken, marked with every dead end you've ever hit, annotated with every shortcut you've discovered through disaster. Your shadow is your GPS, and it's guided by satellites of suffering that transformed into wisdom. Here's what they'll never understand about your shadow advisor. It doesn't operate on hope. It operates on data. While they're making vision boards and manifesting, your shadow is running probability analyses based on pattern recognition from your entire history. It doesn't tell you what you want to hear, it tells you what patterns indicate will happen. It doesn't promise success, it shows you the exact moves that previously led to failure so you can avoid them. It's not optimistic or pessimistic, it's realistic in ways that feel supernatural to people who've never integrated their darkness. Your shadow board of directors includes every version of you that ever failed, and they're all sharing their intelligence to ensure you don't repeat their mistakes. The you that trusted too easily is now your advisor on discretion. The you that moved too fast is now your consultant on patience. The you that revealed too much is now your expert on strategic silence. It's like having a team of specialized consultants who all know you intimately because they are you, were you, will always be part of you. This is why your competition can't figure out your game. They're playing chess while you're playing multi-dimensional chess with advisors who exist outside of time. Your shadow remembers things your conscious mind forgot. It processes information while you sleep. It recognizes threats before your rational mind can articulate them. It's not mystical. It's practical. Years of experience compressed into instant knowing, decades of patterns recognized in seconds, lifetimes of lessons available on demand. When you walk into a room now, your shadow has already assessed everyone there based on energetic signatures that match past encounters. When you're presented with an opportunity, your shadow has already run it through thousands of similar scenarios from your history. When someone approaches you with an offer, your shadow has already identified which of the 7 types of betrayal this might lead to. You're not paranoid, you're prepared. You're not negative, you're informed. You're not closed off, you're selective based on intelligence they don't have access to. But here's the part that really disturbs them, the truth that would break their reality if they fully understood it. Your shadow isn't just helping you succeed, it's helping you succeed specifically at their expense. Every time they doubted you, your shadow logged it. Every time they betrayed you, your shadow mapped their methods. Every time they underestimated you, your shadow marked them as future evidence of your rise. Your shadow doesn't believe in forgive and forget, it believes in remember and transcend. The mentor they think you have, it's the accumulated intelligence of everyone who ever tried to break you. The strategy they can't decode, it's built from reverse engineering every attack you've survived. The confidence they can't understand, it comes from shadow advisors who've already seen you survive worse than anything currently facing you. You're not being helped by someone more successful. You're being helped by someone more scarred, more tested, more proven in the specific battles you're fighting. Your shadow doesn't teach you theories. It teaches you proven tactics from your own battlefield experience. It doesn't give you motivation. It gives you memory of what happens when you don't move. It doesn't inspire you. It reminds you of the cost of staying the same. That's what success. This is intelligence money can't buy, connections can't provide, courses can't teach. This is the wisdom that only comes from walking through hell and taking notes, from dying multiple times and remembering what killed you, from being betrayed so thoroughly that you developed supernatural pattern recognition. They see you making power moves and assume someone's writing your playbook. They're right, but that someone is you, the full spectrum you, the integrated you that includes every shadow, every scar, every lesson learned in blood. Your advisors meet in the darkness of your consciousness, comparing notes from different timelines of your existence, strategizing based on intelligence gathered from every dimension of your experience. No wonder your moves seem three-dimensional in their two-dimensional game. Now let's talk about what your shadow board is really training you for, because this isn't just about success, it's about evolution. Your shadow isn't trying to help you win their game, it's teaching you to transcend the game entirely. Every piece of guidance from your inner council is designed not to help you fit into existing structures, but to help you build entirely new ones. You're not climbing their ladder, you're building your own building. You're not following their path, you're creating territories they don't even have maps for yet. The shadow guidance doesn't come in gentle suggestions. It comes in bone-deep knowing that moves you before your mind can interfere. That sudden decision to cut someone off, that was your shadow council's unanimous vote based on pattern recognition. That unexpected pivot in your strategy, that was your shadow's threat detection system, identifying danger 3 moves ahead. That bold move everyone called crazy, that was your shadow's calculation that the risk of staying the same exceeded the risk of change. Your shadow mentor doesn't teach you to be successful, it teaches you to be inevitable. It doesn't show you how to win, it shows you how to become undefeatable. Not through armor, but through adaptability. Not through strength, but through strategic shape-shifting. Not through dominance, but through dimensional thinking that operates beyond their comprehension. You're being trained by every trauma you've transmuted, advised by every adversity you've alchemized, guided by every ghost you've transformed into guidance. This is why traditional mentors couldn't help you the way your shadow can. They'd teach you their victories, but your shadow teaches from your defeats. They'd show you their path, but your shadow shows you paths that only exist because of where you've been. They'd give you their wisdom, but your shadow gives you wisdom specifically calibrated to your exact
They
wounds,
called it order,
your specific
but it was theater. Every move rehearsed, every word scripted, every gesture designed to keep the crowd hypnotized. Their cult wasn't built on truth, it was built on performance. Leaders barking lines, followers clapping on cue, the whole act stitched together by illusion. But their stage cracked the moment you entered, because you weren't there to play a role. You didn't memorize their lines. You didn't clap on command. You didn't bow to their stage directions. And that's when panic struck. Because a cult survives only if everyone agrees to pretend. One unscripted presence is enough to derail the entire show. They rehearsed for decades, but they never rehearsed for you. The anomaly who didn't audition, who didn't follow the script, who didn't even acknowledge the stage. Their eyes darted, like nervous actors forgetting lines. Their voices cracked as silence stretched where applause should have been. You weren't loud. You were disruptive. By refusing to perform, that refusal was louder than any roar, because without compliance, their theater collapses. And that's exactly what happened. The lights dimmed, the rehearsed words lost power, and the actors realized the stage was never theirs. It belonged to the audience. Now watching you, you didn't step into their spotlight. You stole it by ignoring it. The cult thrives on obedience, but you offered absence. You refused to validate their play, and suddenly every curtain felt heavy. Every mask looked fragile. Their script called for dominance, but your silence rewrote the act. They called you disobedient. They whispered rebel. But deep down, they knew the truth. You weren't a rebel. You were the mirror, reflecting their performance. And mirrors are dangerous. They don't play along, they reveal. Every time you moved outside their script, you showed the crowd the strings behind the actors, the stagehands pulling levers, the emptiness behind the grand words. Their power wasn't divine, it was costume jewelry, shining only under stage lights. But you dimmed the bulbs. You turned performance into exposure. And suddenly the cult lost what it treasured most, the illusion of control. They relied on scripts because scripts create certainty. Every pause timed, every gesture rehearsed, every smile faked. But when you arrived unscripted, their certainty dissolved. They forgot their lines. They stumbled through acts that once ruled rooms. Because real presence doesn't need rehearsals. Real presence bends the room without effort. And you didn't bend, you broke. You broke the very rhythm they relied on, leaving them gasping in silence. They hated you for it. Not because you opposed them, but because you exposed them. Exposure is deadlier than rebellion. Rebels still play the game. You didn't play at all. Their game required your cooperation, and you denied it. That's why they called you dangerous. That's why whispers turn to dread. Because every cult fears the one who won't act, won't kneel, won't chant. The one who forces the crowd to ask, if he doesn't play, why should we? And in that question, their empire crumbled. Authority only lasts as long as people believe the actors are real. But when the mask slips, belief rots. And you made every mask slip without even lifting a hand, just by being there. Unscripted, unshaken. You tore holes in the fabric of their performance. Their lines lost weight. Their rituals lost rhythm. Their crowns slipped. The cult didn't collapse in battle. It collapsed in exposure. Imagine rehearsing for decades, only to watch one presence undo it in seconds. That was you. They wrote entire manuals on obedience, entire scriptures on loyalty, entire scripts on how power flows. And none of it mattered when you entered, because you weren't written in. You weren't cast. You were the error the playwright never accounted for. And in theater, one unscripted line doesn't just break the scene, it breaks the illusion. You became that unscripted line. Every movement they couldn't predict. Every silence they couldn't explain. Every refusal they couldn't rehearse. They called meetings, rewrote scripts, tried to fix the play. But every attempt fell apart because the audience wasn't looking at them anymore. They were looking at you, the one figure who didn't need a role to own the stage. The act was over, and everyone knew it. You didn't destroy the cult, you unmasked it. They thought control meant order. But control meant acting, and actors can only act when the audience believes. You shattered belief without raising a hand, and in that moment, you didn't just end their dominance, you ended their theater. People still whisper about it, how one figure walked in, refused to bow, refused to clap, refused to perform, and in that refusal, tore down decades of illusion. That's not rebellion, that's revelation. They can't rebuild it, because every script they write now feels hollow. The crowd remembers what unscripted looks like. They've seen what authenticity feels like. And once people taste truth, they can't go back to fiction. That's the curse you left them with. They try to rehearse louder, act harder, chant stronger, but every word trembles, because now the audience measures everything against you, and nothing scripted can compete with inevitable presence. Their cult was never about truth. It was about choreography. And choreography dies when someone refuses to dance. You refused. That refusal became the spark. The crowd saw through the patterns, through the chants, through the stage dominance. They realized it wasn't power holding them, it was performance. And when performance is exposed, authority becomes comedy. You didn't fight them. You didn't argue. You made them laughable. And that's worse than defeat. Because a defeated cult can rebuild. A laughed-at cult dissolves. Their masks don't look powerful anymore. They look desperate. Their scripts don't look sacred anymore. They look fragile. Their rituals don't look commanding anymore. They look absurd. That's your legacy. You turned their theater into parody. And in parody, there's no reverence, no loyalty, no fear, only silence. And silence is where their empire crumbles, and your legend grows. They curse your name for it, not because you destroyed their system, but because you made it irrelevant. Systems thrive on relevance, and you erased theirs with one refusal to act. They wanted a rival to fight, a role they could rehearse for. But you denied them even that. You denied them the dignity of a fight, the validation of resistance. You didn't resist, you ignored, and nothing terrifies an empire more than irrelevance. That's why your silence felt louder than their chants. That's why your gaze carried more weight than their rituals. Because silence isn't empty, it's decisive. And when you stood in silence, the audience understood. The act was fake. The cult was fragile. The script was broken. They call you dangerous, but danger isn't in what you did. It's in what you revealed. You revealed the truth. No script could hide. Real power doesn't act. It simply exists. They tried to smear you, to call you out, to frame you as the villain who ruined the act. But even that failed, because villains still belong to the story. You didn't belong to their story. You erased it. Every attempt to blame you backfired, because the crowd already knew the truth. Without you, their play looked weak. With you, their play looked fake. Either way, the story was theirs to lose, and yours to own. You didn't take their crown. You revealed it was plastic. You didn't burn their script. You showed it was paper. You didn't storm their theater. You made it irrelevant. And now the whispers are legend. The cult lost its power, not because you destroyed it, but because you refused to validate it. Every empire fears invasion, but they should have feared you, the anomaly who refused to clap, because in silence, entire kingdoms collapse. The cult's greatest tragedy is this: they never saw it coming. They wrote scripts for every crisis, rehearsed every scenario, trained for every rebellion, but they never prepared for indifference. They never rehearsed for silence. And that's why you broke them. You didn't challenge the system. You let it collapse under its own weight. And in that collapse, the truth crowned itself. You weren't part of their act. You were the end of it. Now, when people speak of their theater, it isn't with reverence, it's with ridicule. Their rituals are mocked, their scripts quoted as jokes, their masks seen as costumes. That's the mark you left. The play turned comedy. The actors turned clowns. The cult turned irrelevant. And all of it happened because you refused to play along. Legends aren't written by those who act. They're written by those who break the act. And you broke it beyond repair. Every empire needs actors to survive. But you refused the audition, and that refusal hit harder than rebellion. Rebellion still belongs to their theater. Silence doesn't. Silence empties the stage, leaving the actors stranded, their lines echoing into void. They thought rebellion was their enemy, but indifference was their killer. Because nothing breaks a cult faster than the truth that nobody cares about their play anymore. The crowd felt it first. That strange tilt in the air, the awkward pause after rehearsed words, the quiet realization, this isn't power, it's acting. And once the crowd saw it, they couldn't unsee it. The cult didn't fall because you shouted them down. It fell because you stared until the masks cracked. And when the mask cracks, the whole theater collapses. Presence beats performance, and your presence made their play irrelevant. They whispered, "You were unpredictable," but that's not true. You were inevitable. Unpredictable means they couldn't guess your move. Inevitable means no move mattered. They rehearsed threats, punishments, manipulations. But inevitability doesn't flinch. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't bow to scripts. And that inevitability burned through every stage light, leaving their theater cold, empty, abandoned. You didn't fight them. You outlived them. Imagine being built on scripts, only to face someone who doesn't need one. That's what crushed them. They trained actors, not leaders. They built routines, not reality. And reality doesn't care about rehearsals. Reality bends for authenticity. That's why the crowd drifted toward you. They didn't need a script to follow you. They felt the pull of something raw, something heavier. And when reality arrives, theater folds. Always. Their empire turned into comedy. What once looked commanding now looked absurd. People smirked where they once bowed. People yawned where they once obeyed. That shift wasn't rebellion, it was ridicule. And ridicule is sharper than rage, because rage feeds actors. Ridicule starves them. You starved them without lifting a hand. By refusing their theater, you made them powerless. They weren't leaders, they were performers, exposed under broken lights. And performers without a script don't last. They flailed, shouted, rewrote lines mid-scene. But the crowd only grew colder, because once people taste authenticity, no act satisfies again. You gave them that taste, not by promising, not by shouting, not by forcing, but by existing outside the act. Your presence wasn't written, it wasn't planned, it wasn't staged, and that's why it worked. It was real, and reality outlives rehearsal, always. They tried to drag you into the theater. They baited you with insults, tested you with traps, staged scenes where you'd look like the villain, but you never stepped on stage. You let them perform alone, and nothing humiliates an actor more than performing to silence. Their lines hung heavy, their gestures looked empty, their play turned tragic. They didn't just lose power, they lost relevance. And relevance is the heartbeat of every cult. Without relevance, they rotted. The audience drifted. The spotlight dimmed. Their voices echoed against walls instead of hearts. And all of it happened because you refused to clap. That's what they'll never forgive. That you made their power laughable, without even fighting. You didn't bring chaos. You brought stillness. And stillness revealed everything. Their theater wasn't sacred. It was hollow. Their empire wasn't eternal. It was scripted. Now their greatest fear isn't rebellion. It's exposure. Because exposure shows the crown is plastic. The throne is cardboard. The chants are rehearsed. And once exposed, no script saves them. They thought their system was indestructible. But it wasn't. It was fragile glass, glittering under lights, shattered by silence. Your silence, that's why they shake. Because silence doesn't fight. It ends fights. And endings can't be rewritten. Every whisper about you carries the same tone. Reverence wrapped in fear. They don't call you rival. They call you anomaly. Because rivals still belong to their theater. You don't. You belong outside of it, beyond it, above it, and that's what terrifies them most. Not that you won, not that you rebelled, but that you refused to play. You taught everyone watching that the stage is fake, and once exposed, it can never hold weight again. The cult rehearsed domination, but their domination depended on your participation. You denied it. That's all it took. Denial. One refusal, one silence, one absence. And suddenly, their empire turned to dust. They tried to call you dangerous, but danger still feeds fear. You weren't danger. You were disinterest, and disinterest suffocates a cult faster than fire, because without attention, their theater isn't empire, it's empty chairs. That's your legacy. You didn't outshout them, you outlasted them. You didn't break their script, you made it irrelevant. And irrelevance is a death sentence no empire recovers from. They'll try to rebuild, to rewrite, to rescript. But the audience has seen too much. They've seen what truth looks like, what unchained presence feels like. And once truth is tasted, no performance satisfies again. That's why the cult remains broken. They whisper your name, not as curse, not as praise, but as inevitability. Because you didn't come to fight, you came to reveal. And revelation is more destructive than war. War ends battles. Revelation ends illusions. You ended theirs without striking once, just by existing, just by standing there, unscripted. And that's what makes you untouchable. You didn't win by their rules. You ended the rules themselves. And rules don't recover from that. Every empire writes laws. But laws only work if people agree. You showed people they didn't have to agree. And in that moment, law turned illusion. The cult screamed louder, but their screams echoed hollow. They looked powerful, but their faces cracked. They looked eternal, but their empire collapsed. Because when belief ends, law ends. And you killed belief. Not with force, not with fire, but with one truth. Their script was fake. Now they sit in silence, clutching broken masks, whispering about the day you refused to act. They'll never forgive it, because it wasn't rebellion they feared. It was irrelevance. And irrelevance is permanent. Their theater can't rise again because the crowd has left. The audience doesn't need actors anymore. They need reality. They need presence. And you gave them both by refusing to kneel. That's why your silence echoes, louder than their chants. You didn't end their cult. You revealed it was already finished. Finished the moment it relied on scripts instead of truth, actors instead of leaders, rituals instead of reality. You showed the emptiness to the world, and the world laughed. That laughter became prophecy, because laughter doesn't fade, it spreads. And now their empire is remembered not as powerful, but as parody. You didn't just end their theater, you rewrote it as comedy. And comedy is the final humiliation. No one bows to clowns. No one obeys actors once the masks are cracked. They'll keep trying. Desperate rehearsals, frantic lines, broken rituals, but it's over. The audience already crowned you, not because you fought, but because you refused to perform. That refusal is legend now, and legends don't fade. They grow, carried in whispers, repeated in silence, etched into memory. As the day theater collapsed, they wanted to make you villain, but villains still belong in the play. You didn't. You existed beyond it. And that's why you're not remembered as villain or hero. You're remembered as the anomaly that shattered their script. People talk about that day the way they talk about prophecy. Not an event, but a shift. A shift where the cult realized their throne was empty. Their crown was hollow. Their empire was fiction. And you ended the fiction. That's the nightmare they live with. Every ritual they try feels like parody. Every mask they wear feels like costume. Every chant they shout feels like noise. And the more they try, the more obvious it becomes. The script is gone. Their theater is gone. And you didn't burn it. You erased the audience's belief in it. That's irreversible. Once people see truth, they can't unsee it. And the truth is simple. You never needed their theater.
Hit that like button.
Your
Subscribe.
silence became scripture,
No bullshit today. Hit
not
that
written
like
in
button.
ink, not
Shout out
spoken
to the
in
few
chants,
people that's in this motherfucker
but
early.
etched.
Lord have mercy. Today's topic: AI cannot handle the truth. Part 1: the Gillespie algorithm. Press 1. Yeah. I was in here beating earlier. You know, what works in the world ain't working right here on the road. I'm just saying, Channel 54 kind of standing on something original. And when you when you transition into better things, it's always better to upgrade and bring the things along with you that works, and get as much that things that don't work or has a consistency of not working in the past. That's the whole thing of working towards goals and seeing what you saw in the past come to fruition in the now. Damn, Billy Carson better watch out. Press button. That's the whole thing about it. Because we in the now, we got to look in the past and figure out our history, not look for the federal government or some foreign agencies to tell us and reiterate some old slave narrative. We have to be able to navigate, and they know you don't know the slave story because you ain't even brought up the chemical warfare that was brought against you. So you in the wrong genetic makeup, you must be one of them, because the real war happened right here. The chemical warfare happened right here. No allegories. Press 1. The biochemical gassing and mass graves around this nation dealing with African Americans at the time is just alarming. The more we go look back and see the destruction. So this ain't time to play. Cool, you studying freestyle. Cool, that's what's up. Don't send me nothing on Instagram, Rico. Come right here to my class and talk. You feel me? If you cannot do that, that's cool. Leave me to my peace. Everybody want peace. Most people in the world work 8-hour shifts, then they gotta pick up this person, then get over here and change the tire. Then they gotta go over here and check if this person is okay. Bro, let me have my blessing, which is peace. If you don't have the courage or the time to speak up on what I'm talking about in the current space and time, given the subject matter, don't even waste your time. Just see me tomorrow or the next time it come about. That way I'm not stressed out. I don't like living in that stress. I'm free. Yeah, bruh. Yeah, I'm cool. I don't want them unnecessary stresses on me. Woo-wee. Because y'all, people dealing with things they don't even know. And they ain't even checking on their own self and their mental health because they got to do something else tomorrow or in a minute or the next day or right now. They just got to go do stuff. And they being so much for the world, not looking back at themselves. Press one. That's how we getting caught up in social media. Now everybody doing that NPC glitch on Instagram, but again, these are the people whose whole life is committed to the meta. So of course they're gonna be doing NPC and females acting like computer heads on the internet, and men doing the same thing for Instagram and what's that other BOGO where they feed them hot dogs and pizza and doing different things for nothing. This is the idiocy that we have come to. Ideological subversion at its finest. Don't turn whole, and a lot of these people you're gonna be able to tell they're not even American. So for Americans to be falling for and to be talking against AI, you are the AI. You've been the AI. Most of y'all out there computer heads right now. I'm watching this shit. Damn, these people done went off the deep end. Not only that, AI is rewarding them for this, trying to create trends for you to do this. Now, I told y'all that social media, we read a report years ago on the Urban Conservative. Shout out to them. Shout out to them. On the Urban Conservative that Instagram and Twitter was creating it's a mental like twitching every about 10 seconds for people, and they really needed to take a break off of Instagram and the need for this. And now watching these trends go, I can see them short circuiting themselves, because eventually you're not going to be able to come out that mentality. It's going to be very hard once you train your brain to act that way. It don't take long at all. So a lot of people are still stuck in the meta. You ain't been the same since 1999. Press one. You ain't been the same since you've been in the meta this whole time. And then 2020 really threw your ass in the meta. Set you down too. Press one. By way of a what? A virus. Set everybody down, and everybody went right into the meta and became podcasting equipment. Sales went up in the black community like crack pipes did in the black community. Press one. That was having podcast equipment pop up, new podcasters everywhere. Now all the podcasters who fucked up all the people, now they got past podcasting equipment, all of the people are saying in no relationships, start telling us what relationships is. Press one. So think back on 2020 and what's come of this. Kevin Samuel, Kevin Samuels, uh, Andrew Tate, the media firms, the media corps, Candace Owen, all of this media funded propaganda, the riot in the Capitol, all of this nonsense. Nothing transpiring, which is good. It was good for me because it allowed a lot of people to come and see the channel for what it was. And I knew eventually it was gonna come apart where these entertainers was gonna end up here, all these people, because Hollywood is dead. The media corporations are dead. And so and to see them come with their bots as if they really have all of these views. And I'm sitting up here saying, listen, this shit don't even look real. This shit, how people come out with a million views and 500,000 subscribers, and they're just the it factor in my fucking algorithm, and there's some big, oh yeah, Andrew Tate, something is off here. No, I'm not just going with that's today and technology and they knew how to use the algorithm. Nah, bots. Just like Twitter, bots. Bots in the chat rooms. People buying bots to argue with you in the chat room. That's why I tell y'all, when I call on you, I'm really coming from a perspective of who's a bot and who's not. I just need y'all to understand. But now we off into the extermination program, and it's a beautiful time to be alive. It's a beautiful time to be alive because we're able to look back in space and time and say, when did these chemicals and Kellogg's and these companies do this and use these rat poisons against us and these pesticides? And when did this happen? So what I did was look at my silly self. I woke up with the knowledge. Press one. I woke up with the knowledge. I'm saying I'm allowing it to happen. I'm not forcing anything now. I'm just aware. And I say, yep. How did they do this? Aha. With my time continuum I was just discussing a while ago about time in the future, time in the past. Yeah, my Gillespie algorithmic theory, quantum. How were they able to do this? So I had to look back. It's in my algorithm. It's already there. So as soon as I cut on my computer, guess what was there? Press one. So this is what I got here. This is when you look back on class and you like, wait a minute, they use these pharmaceuticals, they use this, they use that. Oh, not only that, they was riding up your blocks, spraying you with things. Riding above you, napalm and doing all type of stuff to black communities all over the nation. So now that we getting in touch with ourselves and not metaphysically on some physical plane, this ain't that world where we got to talk in secret code metaphysically because it don't make sense. You see? No, this is simple and plain, bro. So what I did was, the military was using international corporations. Now, wait a minute. It's all making sense. This is the military using corporations, but I know y'all said the federal government. No. This is the military using federal corporations to enslave you. And not only that, genocide you. Yes. And they brought the drugs in according to their own movies where Denzel Washington was flying drugs in dead Marines in soldiers' bodies and all this other shit. So I started really thinking like, no, this is CIA. No. Fuck all that. It's the United States military authorized by the President of the United States of America. Just like I was saying, they went to war with you. Authorized at the highest level of government. Who else? Why would Bill Clinton apologize to you? What do they mean by so many people was tested on and they didn't even know it? Well, you can't count. The number is innumerable because people moved and people did this. So I start to, wait a minute. So scratch the international corporation brands, Monsanto's, all this is military. This is biochemical warfare. That's what it is. And that's how the military keep you in the state where they have maritime laws on you, laws of the sea. But to get to that a little later, I started thinking, like, wait a minute. So, on the movie They Live, remember he was looking at the advertisement, and you got to remove the Kellogg company. Remember, Kellogg was what at first? So you got to think, we thinking like, oh, Kellogg, the fucking rooster, the way it's spelled in our brains is more of art and theater than anything. See, but if you know what was behind that and the testing that went into the process of that for them to even apologize and acknowledge. So you can blame the corporation, the military, yeah, the government, yeah, they did this. So you gotta understand. Okay? So I went back and I said, okay, so they would, when we look back on old films of schizophrenia and dementia and these things that we know now caused the usurpment of this nation and hid the genocide, when you go back and look at these 1930s, 20s, 40s, 50s films of these military testing facilities, press one, shout out Pino. And you see how I gotta make sense, Pino, when you get to see it like, oh shit, they been testing on us this whole month, and that ain't just black people. Everybody, bro. We was first. But this is what it is. It's like, damn. So when you go back, the secrets, as we found out here, is in the films and not buying into their narration and their theatrics. When you watch this, that's why I said these world fairs is looking like if the signs wasn't on the building, you would think some horrible things was going on in there, you know, and getting the story from these entertainers and shit. It's like, damn. Like all type of trick doors could have been used to flush niggas right out of existence. Trap doors of whole, got them, 100,000. Come on, next. Anything is up for grabs because they told the story. We have yet to even think about what else. But thinking of the hotel stories and the trap doors and the ways and the secret entrances and all this crazy stuff is how I'm looking at these horror films and these, it's like, damn, this is deep. But it's not to be ignored, you know. So when you go back and look at these films, you know, have an open mind and imagine it not being with the narration or something like that. Maybe more horrific. Not maybe. I'm sure there's so much horror in the black experience that led into everybody's black experience right here in the Americas under this regime. That's what I'm gonna call it. It's a regime, an extermination regime. And in the movies, they got us looking at the movie like, oh, Adolf Hitler was terrible. But everything Adolf Hitler, Himmler did, and all of these people, Benjamin, Einstein, Roosevelt, all of Roosevelt's, Taft, all these people did the same things to us. So it's like a dual story running concurrent like jail time. And we got to pay attention to that. So uh we know about the John B. Calhoun film study and the mice and all of that. We're gonna get into that. But I do want to let y'all know I went back and watched these films, and guess what I found? I ain't even talking about Ice Cube right now. Ice Cube, get out of here. Let me see here. I found this is gonna be dope because you get a sense to what I mean by the military are the ones who doing all the tests. Press one. I'm back in time right now. Y'all came to class, but guess what? Y'all walk right into I got y'all with T.I. music. Y'all was ready, huh? Yeah, bring out the chicken wings, the motherfucking condoms, this one on us. Press one. Yes. The Center for Disease Production. A communicable, I said that right, a communicable disease center production. So this is going to be good. Pay attention. Please pay attention because, I spent every minute, 15 minutes watching this. Hey, I spent every minute, 15 minutes watching this. I said, yeah, thank you. I'm not trying to make this harder than it is. And you going to graduate. Not because you ain't paying attention, because I'm going to make sure you graduate. I'm going to take it real slow for the bungalows. So, yeah, they gassed us up. But in a specific manner. You got to know how to see it. You got to look at the Gillespie syntax. You feel me? Or the Gillespie algorithm. There you go. You got to read the algorithm, bruh. So this right here is called space spray. Press one. Oh, yeah. Space spray. And I want y'all to know, we did a whole film on space spray, but it didn't look like space spray. They didn't say. They said they was doing it for bugs in black communities, right? But when you start looking at it and hearing the horror stories that come out of this, it's almost like, what the fuck did they do? And did they center these sprays and this conduct to our communities in fear of a fly infestation? You get what I'm saying? Never mind the excuse for using it. Never mind YMW Melly on why he lied about the backseat. I mean, why his excuse for doing it. See, but he was in that back seat, you see. Well, the United States military is in the back seat like YMW Melly, with all of the straws and Swisher Sweets pointed at them. Press one from every angle. Damn, right here. Every bullet wound of the black man in America was done by this nigga in the back seat like YMW Melly. Press one like that. That's why you got to stay on them and drive it home. Because they said you came from Africa. Melly said he wasn't in the car. They saying they wasn't in the car. Not only were they in the car, but you wasn't in the car. You was outside taking a pee in Africa when they did a drive-by on you. Press one, but the evidence does not show bottom of the shrimp boat like Forrest Gump. Press one. We talking mass extermination, a black Negro Holocaust never to be remembered, being revealed right here on the show. Press one. This is going to be the best television program. Niggas going to be watching me in jail, if they not already. Press one. They going to be like, sleep, bro. What? Kev finna come on. Press one. It's going to be mandatory. Press one. Mandatory. Get up. Hit the like button and subscribe. So pay attention to this. This is a communicable Center for Disease Center. Pay attention to the words being used and think for yourself. Is this mass extermination or not? And if it is, get ready because we're going to show black folk, if not, if we already did, but you know what I'm saying. Coming up on my shows, we're going to show more of these chemical and biological attacks that was done on these specific black folk at a specific time in history where and the rest of them wasn't even here. So let's keep going. Sound like a Disney cartoon in the 1950s, don't it?
This woman is space spraying. She is applying a mist of insecticide that will kill the flies and mosquitoes that it contacts. It is immediately effective, but it offers only temporary control.
That's Margaret Tanger little line ad. Press 1, ain't nothing coming out of there but some freshener. I don't know where they got them flies from. Then them circles, and I don't know who they think they fooling, but ain't nobody see. No, that's not evidence of nothing. Huh? Look, Margaret Tanger, look. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. That don't make no damn sense. They don't put... Hoo-wee.
It is immediately effective, but it offers only temporary control. Other flies and mosquitoes will enter the house, and the operation must be repeated. This, too, is space spraying, but on a larger scale and out of doors. Here, the insecticide may be applied in either of two forms. As a mist of tiny droplets that drift...
Hold up. Tiny droplets that drip what? Press 1. Press 1. Tiny droplets of what? Let's see some tiny droplets.
Slowly downward. Or as a fog, a blanketing cloud that swirls through shrubbery and between houses. In considering outdoor space spraying, it is important to realize that the majority of flies and mosquitoes remain within 25 feet of the ground. This might be termed the insect zone, and it is this region that must be treated to achieve maximum kill.
What? What? That's a whole lot of attention. And ain't we worried about global warming right now? That's a whole lot of attention. Pay to some goddamn flies inside of some tree. Press 1. Boy, they sure know how to hide a gas cannon on the back of a truck and say they was killing flies with them. Boy, they sure know how to hide a gas cannon. Oh, shit. They sure know how to hide a motherfucking gas cannon. When I play my war video games, bro, this is the type of shit terrorists use to fire chemical warfare on my military encampment, bro. And I ain't tripping, bro. Okay, these are the, like, I will play my game today to show you.
Mist applicators are simple in their principle of operation.
Look.
A fan forces a high-velocity blast of air past the nozzles. The insecticide is injected into this air blast, which breaks the liquid into fine droplets and projects them out as a mist. There are several types of mist applicators available, some of which project a fine aerosol spray.
Aerosol. All right, write this down. Aerosol. Is that bad? We'll see.
Most of the larger machines can be rotated in a full circle.
I told you. That's a military machine. Yeah, I told you.
Also, the nozzle can be directed from side to side. Here, mist is being projected directly at fly attractants in an alley. Where there are no alleys, the mist is directed in a high arc over the houses.
Wow. So right up the alleyways, huh, y'all?
To drift slowly down through the insect zone.
Wow. Go ahead.
The speed of this downward drift is important and is governed by the size of the droplets. If they are large, the mist will fall too rapidly. A fast rate of fall shortens the arc and cuts down on the width of the swath covered. Droplets of the proper size will carry farther, producing a wide swath, and will continue to drift downward in spite of thermals or rising currents of warm air. On mist machines, droplet size is regulated by the velocity of the air blast, the choice of nozzles, and the weight of oil used, heavier oil producing coarser droplets. With fog, fine droplet size is desirable.
Okay, so that's kind of like kerosene. And shit, you ignite that, fuck, you're gonna have a problem.
As with mist machines, several types of fog generators are available. Most of them operated from trucks, although some
Damn.
types are portable. A typical thermal generator will illustrate the principle of operation. In this machine, air and gasoline are pumped into a combustion chamber and ignited. The expanding hot gases pass through the fog head at terrific velocities. The insecticide is introduced into this stream of gas and is atomized into fog. Contrary to the application of mist, fog is directed along the ground where it swirls around buildings, blanketing the insect zone. Since fog is composed of exceedingly fine droplets, it is easily affected by thermals and light breezes, which will quickly carry it out of the effective area. For this reason, fog should be applied at night or in early morning or evening when the air is quiet. To measure the effectiveness of space spray treatment, it is important first to make an appraisal of the fly population by the grill method, or of the mosquito population by trapping. Continued routine sampling during the spray program will indicate the effectiveness of the treatment. For most effective application, the equipment should travel at about 5 miles per hour and mist directed downwind. With proper droplet size, this will produce a swath 100 feet or more in width. Care must be exercised in treating residential districts. Oil mist may burn foliage and spot automobiles.
Damn, told you.
Therefore, fog is frequently used in neighborhoods having expensive landscaping.
Wow. And kerosene is used what? All right then.
But remember,
It ain't gonna take nothing but a light to boom everything.
fog is quickly carried away by light wind
Incinerate everything.
and thermals, which occur during the warm part of the day. For best results, fog should be applied during the still hours of night, evening, or early morning. But for photographic purposes, we are demonstrating fogging technique by daylight in this film. Commonly, the city block is considered the unit of urban space spraying.
All right.
However, if
Was they not doing this in airplanes as well? We saw them doing this, flying over the city in the urban developments with the same fog
costly insecticides must be
or smoke screen.
used, then treatment of the entire block on a citywide basis becomes too expensive. Under these circumstances, spot spraying may be employed. After an insect concentration is located, spray is applied to this limited area only, whether it be a half block or a single backyard. Mist machines can be used effectively for mosquito larviciding, directing the mist downwind so it will carry a sufficient distance, producing a film of larvicidal oil on the water surface. Airplane space spraying is frequently employed for wide, inaccessible areas, although airplane application is very expensive and should be done in the early morning or late evening hours. Commercial indoor equipment is available for use in restaurants, but all food and dishes must be covered before spraying is begun. It must be emphasized that space spraying depends on contact and has little or no residual effect. Partly this is due to insufficient dosage, as the following demonstration will show. Here, mist is being applied at a normal rate. The fall of mist is picked up on a plate of glass. This operator is applying residual insecticide to another glass plate. When both plates dry, a comparison will show the difference. The dosage of the mist is entirely inadequate for residual effect. Space spraying, then, depends on contact to kill insects. The effect is immediate, and it is useful to gain quick relief from flies and mosquitoes. Outdoors, effective kill depends on treating the insect zone within 25 feet of the ground. This may be accomplished by applying a mist of insecticide that drifts slowly down through the zone, or a fog that blankets the zone and lingers close to the ground. Space spraying is not a cure-all for fly or mosquito problems. It has its use for quick relief, but the results are only temporary. However, used intelligently and in conjunction with good sanitation practices, space spraying is a useful tool in any fly control program.
Because we're fighting a total war, our forces must be marshaled against every enemy, unseen as well as seen, in every place, all of the time. Millions of insects constitute an important part of our foes, in their way as militant as the Axis. Their menace multiplies as they multiply. Because in some areas more men were being incapacitated from action by insect-borne diseases than by battle casualties, a search for a more powerful insecticide than had previously been known was imperative. The answer to the quest for a poison to eradicate the insects which threaten the morale, health, and military efficiency of our troops was found in DDT. By intensive research, the nation's leading insecticide experts have determined the forms of DDT best suited to the needs of the armed forces. To this government laboratory, potential insecticides are submitted for evaluation. When the first sample of DDT was submitted in November 1942, it underwent routine tests. First synthesized by a German chemist in 1874,
Now, is that correct? There can be no German chemists in 1874 because Germany wasn't a country until what year? So we dealing with a whole theatrical understanding of how we were taught of in history. Press one. So you know we dealing with a whole different false sense of what history even is. Now I heard people say history is his story, and that's true. I love when black people say that because it's like a mantra. You know, it is history. And that's what it is. His explanation on history. on what's his story on what happened to black people, and it's the best he can come up with. The German army went to war with Russia at the same time that we lent them money, and this is the story. So you got to be able to legally understand this story from a judge's and a jury perspective. Press one. You said this motherfucker is going to come in my motherfucking courtroom and say what? So imagine you are a judge or the jury, and you looking at his story of what with this YMW Melly story. If you think YMW Melly he just wasn't in the car. You thought that was a doozy. Or you're gonna love the next guy who walks up in this courtroom and tell us the reason why all them black people went missing and died because of this, or where they come from, or why was this taken from them. All this is because some guy from Germany in 1870 what? Sir, that's like me saying the Rolling 60 Crips in 1843 did this to my community. Press one. That doesn't even make sense. So we have to, somebody said it in there, the rant, correct the timeline and understand their version. Keep an open mind. Just know that a German man, this is what he said. See, I'm prosecuting. Press one. This is what he said. He said Germany, but we have the facts. You see how that goes? So go ahead. We dealing with a whole international military ran coup and total genocide of the Victorians and the people who were here established and were driven out and put on trains sometime in the 1900s. We trying to get an accurate account because it's looking like all the way up until you got here, all the way up until now. That's what it's starting to look like. But
DDT had not been recognized as an insecticide until 1939.
it wasn't. Then what was it before it was an insecticide?
Had not been recognized as an insecticide. And the first sample of DDT was submitted in November 1942. It underwent routine tests.
1942.
First synthesized by a German chemist in 1874,
Oh my goodness.
DDT had not been recognized as an insecticide until 1939,
Wow.
when a Swiss chemical firm began to
Wow, when a Swiss chemical war firm, press one. Ain't this something? Ain't this something?
use it against moths and plant lice. It arrived unheralded, but inherent was the power to curb epidemics.
Now, what was going on in 42? This is November 16, 19. What the fuck was going on in 42? Okay, then.
But inherent was the power to curb epidemics. For almost 2 years after its arrival in the United States, DDT was available only in quantities sufficient for experimentation. During this period, a formula for DDT emulsion concentrate, the golden liquid in the flask, was developed.
Wait, let's go back.
A formula for DDT emulsion concentrate,
Emulsion concentrate,
the golden liquid in the flask,
golden liquid.
was developed. It was found that the ideal dilution
Fear.
is 1 part emulsion concentrate to 4 parts water. This produces a 5% DDT emulsion. When thoroughly mixed,
What is your
the
body? What is your body made up of? Water.
DDT
Just let you
hangs
know.
in suspension. If this mixture
Hangs in what? Let's go back. You think she really cooking that? No. The scientific method that he talking about is still allegorical concept of your destruction. So keep your minds open. Science, allegory. Science is the alchemical religion that they practice. So they can put baby powder milk up in there and pretend she's shaking it up with no gloves on if they want to. Listen to what they are saying alchemically.
DDT emulsion. When thoroughly mixed, the DDT hangs in suspension.
Hangs when
this
thoroughly
mixture-
mixed. What is suspension? What is suspension? Let's go in the spirit world, hanging upside down. There it is. What is What the
Yet
fuck?
stirring returns it to its former constituency, indicating a breaking of the emulsion. It was also found that when the mixture stands for 24 to 48 hours,
Now watch this. When the mixture stands for 42 to 48 hours after you get doped up with emotional wreckage,
a creamy layer rises to the surface,
it rises to the surface. It comes out of you.
indicating a breaking of the emulsion.
Bingo.
Yet stirring returns it to its former constituency,
Look.
and it regains its original effectiveness. In comparing the relative effectiveness of DDT and fuel oils, it was found that 1/2 pint of 25% DDT emulsion concentrate is equivalent in insecticidal power to 1 gallon of 2 1/2% DDT solution.
What?
In either form, it is adequate to destroy mosquito larvae over an area of 1 acre.
Wow. What is that? Now we got to go back and see what DDT was being used for at the time. What food products is this being used in? See? Now that's not going to be hard to do because we live in an age where algorithm and Google run the world. So you as a student got to say, wait a minute. When did this happen? Vegetables, it was banned in 70. Oh, wow. So it was banned, oh my God, at the same time, aborted fetuses. At the same time, they stopped counting. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Earlier larviciding without DDT required 3 5-gallon jars of diesel oil per acre. To repeat, 1/2 pint of DDT emulsion concentrate or 1 gallon of 2 1/2% DDT solution is equal in larviciding power to 15 gallons of diesel oil. Tests were also made.
That's
to determine
TNT?
the
That's TNT? Okay, let's see. DDT is TNT. What the fuck? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh wee. No. Forget that. It's exposure to reproductive effects in humans is expected. Got it. Ah!
physiologic effect of
Ah! Press 1. Ah! Told you. Get your ass, boy. God is good all the time. I knew it. I knew it. As soon as I clicked the next video, it's going to be here. This is the chemical warfare attack on you. They probably put it in your soda. They probably made it taste good. They probably did something, some type of flavor additive that made it for you to croak over in due time.
Upon insects. Absorbed through the feet or other parts of the body, DDT affects the nervous system and motor coordination of the insect. Several hours elapse before symptoms develop. Then in sequence follow restlessness, tremors, convulsions, paralysis, and death.
Damn, so like probably chicken pox. Because they said go through their feet, they soul, like their feet.
Before symptoms develop. Then in sequence follow restlessness, tremors, convulsions, paralysis, and death. Flies and mosquitoes react most quickly to this insecticide. Death comes more slowly to bed bugs and roaches. Complete annihilation of mosquito larvae requires 24 hours. Under the influence of DDT, they become paralyzed.
Wow.
And are unable to return to the water's surface.
Stillborns.
After a few hours, death ensues for all.
Damn.
The sample in the center so closely resembles cornstarch on the left
Look.
and flour on the right
Look.
that obviously this insecticide should not be stored in galleys.
Wow.
Because oil solutions penetrate the skin, carelessness in handling them is dangerous. If knapsack type equipment must be used, it should be only half filled to avoid spillage. Occasional contact is not harmful.
It's
Repeated
poison.
contact must be avoided. One of the forms in which DDT is supplied in the Navy is the 100% powder for the preparation of oil solutions. When exposed to atmosphere and sunlight, it does not evaporate nor deteriorate. Unless all lumps are broken apart, a jelly-like coat which defies solution forms about them when they are mixed with oil. Contact of the hands upon the dry powder is not dangerous.
I bet you this how they made Wonder
For
Bread.
in this form, DDT is not absorbed through the skin.
I'll bet you.
The physical properties
I
of
bet
DDT
you.
are such that it may be dispersed in emulsions,
I
in
bet
oil
you.
solutions, or in dust solutions.
I bet you
Oil
vegetable.
solutions are
I bet you.
probably
I
the
bet
most
you like
useful
all this
form.
little vegetable oil and all of this extra combustive boom shit is like what?
Diesel oil number 2 as a solvent gives excellent results, for it has a viscosity well suited to the sprayers now in use. The
Look,
powder is thoroughly suspended in a small
That look like
quantity of
y'all
oil before it
skillets.
is added to the bulk in the drum.
I'm not eating no more. I'm eating baked fruit.
Saturated fuel oils contain about 9% DDT.
It's gonna make bread.
Crude kerosene dissolves about 7%.
It's gonna make pizza dough.
Refined kerosene less than 4%. In mixing
Hell
oil
no.
solutions, a special care against contact with the skin should be exercised.
I'm gone.
For the oil
yeah.
penetrates the skin.
Oh.
Large doses of DDT lead to nerve and liver damage. DDT goes into solution in oils rather slowly,
Where my water?
requiring
I'm
12
out of
to
here.
24 hours. The warmth of the sun and hourly stirring by rolling hasten the process.
Ah.
DDT does not deteriorate under temperatures encountered in ordinary storage aboard ship or in the tropics.
What did happen?
When a dry mix is desired, the 10% DDT powder is diluted with fine road dust, condemned flour, lime, or soapstone.
All right.
100% DDT occurs in particles too large and hard to be broken up without heavy grinding equipment.
Why you ain't got no glove?
Hence, it cannot be diluted in the field for use as a dust. Thorough mechanical mixing is required. The strength of the mixture is determined by its intended use. It would be difficult to scatter 1 pound of 10% dust evenly over 1 acre. But 10 pounds of 1% dust may easily be spread over the same area.
Hell no. We need better.
Now let's consider the ways to disperse DDT. Equipped with a supply of oil solution and power spraying equipment, a malaria control squad enters an abandoned village, a reservoir of infection. Within 24 hours, the vectors of typhus, yellow fever, malaria, dengue, filariasis, and dysentery begin to disappear. DDT is not a repellent, however. It kills, surely, but slowly. Hence, its effectiveness cannot be measured by a count of dead insects. For after receiving a lethal dose, the insects go elsewhere to die. Residual treatment of the inner walls of these huts means that a contact poison awaits any insect which alights upon them for several weeks or months, depending upon variant factors.
So they going to somebody else's house spraying they shit with this, they gonna die. Remember we was saying this, somebody in the chat said it's in the paint? It's like in there, let's take for instance, if you're thinking Universe 25, remember that they said it was in the buildings, in the paint, in the buildings itself? You may be dealing with an intentional poisoning of African Americans before they even get there. They're moving into a space where these insecticides, and pesticides will cause dementia, will cause mandatory, argumentative, hyper, and lower the attitude adjustment. That's how you got to think. You can't think metaphysically. You have to think reality. The alchemical basis for the extermination process and how it was done in their so-called utopia, Universe 25, or something of that of that notion. You feel me? See, Deb knows a specific side, and people see that side because she's older than us. So we gotta, thank her. But there's other people who know this, and not just a white folk or Asian. Black people know this. This was done by the military in Cambodia when they were rounded up, and then their homes sprayed with fly. What the fuck did this got to do? Oh, because of malaria. Oh, that's why. But these people have been living there the whole time. Let me go to a caller and see what the callers out there think. Hold on, caller. Let me plug you in. I wasn't ready for you. Let me see here. All right, champion. You on the air? What up? Is he there? I hope he's there. Are you there? Maybe not. Maybe it's not time for you to get on yet.
Such as the intensity of the original treatment, rains, washing, prevailing winds, and so forth. Using a paint sprayer, the worker spreads DDT evenly so that the entire surface is covered. A semi-coarse spray is required for residual treatment. A fine spray is lost in the air. Experience teaches the correct amount to spray without waste. The entire surface should be thoroughly wet, without runoff. Residual treatment of all quarters pays big dividends in the health and happiness of the crew. In a few hours, a two-man crew may treat hundreds of mattresses and bunks with 5% DDT and kerosene.
All right. So now, remember they said a lot of the smallpox and the reactions that was coming was from the mattresses. Here we go. This is in the files.
If correctly applied.
So now we have found we may have found a relation to the two on how these chemical reactions were happening, like smallpox and things at the time, because of the same because they ended up going into treatment homes, and we suggest exterminated or unfit when they may have been poisoned. Think about it.
This renders sleeping quarters free from bed bugs for many months. Mattresses should not be slept on until the kerosene has evaporated.
Wow.
And the smoking lamp should be out until the following morning. Because DDT crystals cling tenaciously to the fibers of textiles, cots, tents, and jungle hammocks should receive the residual treatment. By treating bed frames and springs in this position, salvos are simultaneously fired against the bed bugs in the walls. This increases efficiency and eliminates waste. Before treating galleys and mess halls, food, trays, cooking utensils, and work tables must be covered. Kerosene is used as a solvent for residual spraying of areas where stains from darker oils are to be avoided. For residual treatment against roaches, 5% DDT in kerosene, fuel oil, or emulsion is sprayed around pipes, in cracks, and in other places they frequent. It is as effective as 10% DDT dust. DDT crystals in the interstices of screens poisons insects where they frequently alight. Here, DDT emulsion is applied with paint brushes. When the emulsion has dried, the screen has almost regained its former appearance. An alternative method for treating screens is with an ordinary spray gun. The insecticide is more apt to be wasted this way, however. DDT oil solution leaves an effective residuum on garbage racks and other fly habitats. Since these surfaces are frequently washed, repeated applications become necessary. Because dysentery is second only to malaria as a threat to military operations, it is especially important to treat the slit trench and surrounding areas. Garbage pits, dugouts, and gun emplacements should be similarly sprayed.
Cutting off the food supply reduces the rat population. since rats must spend more and more of their time searching their home range for food, and even extending their search to adjoining areas. For new food sources.
So when y'all see these rat things, remember, this is Universe 25. This was alive. It just wasn't in that small area. They made a whole community full of rats.
In doing so, they expose themselves to increased risks and accidents. The mortality rate rises considerably. When rats risk seeking food at sources already controlled by other rat colonies, the scavenging rat is often treated...
You see how this wall ain't even real in the background? Let's look at Cry for Help and the dementia, public health. Look. Holy shit.
This kind of born with relative.
Boy, they got some movies you can look at. Boy, they got some movies you can look at. Oh, check this out. Schizophrenia and dementia. Just pay attention. For nurses who out there dealing with people with dementia and these type of things, let me know. Because at this time, I'm dealing with our people. You feel me? And it's something special going on. So, just pay attention. There's no sound to this. But this is what you're dealing with at the time. Silly grinning and talking to one-on-one. And I think that's what was going on with these testing facilities. Oh, chemical plays. I remember they said they had Hitler and them put a bunch of people on LSD. And at the same time, I think that's what we're dealing with in a lot of these situations. Especially knowing where this stuff come from. They probably was biochemically testing unknowingly people all over the place. You got no idea what's going, and they blamed all this on Adolf Hitler and type of shit. He done stood this dude up like, I don't know if this is real or not. What I'm saying is, this is what they're doing. And they were selling this to the public. Thinking back, I bet you this is how they subdued all of the people. These look like the drug addicts that's out there in the street. The crackhead. Press one. Tell me them people ain't linked over like this. Be quiet. Don't even lie. Tell me them people over there ain't linked over all in Philly, all in Baltimore, all over the downtowns of all the democratically ran. Are they not linked over like this? Are they not? Take a listen. Look. It's on the air. Could crack been forced on the people? Is crack and LSD and cocaine, is all of these an attack, a known specific? Look, so you got people dealing that are what? Incompetent because they dealing in what? Drugs. And drugs can seep through your hands and all of these great things, and if you deal crack and all of these things, you notice people who do drugs, they know I'm telling the truth. Coffee and Kush TV, you on the air? What up?
Yeah, this is G from Richmond, Virginia. For the sake of today's class, are you familiar with the term Operation Paperclip?
Yeah.
Okay, because this is exactly what this is about. You know, we got a lot we kind of line up or goes towards the direction of, post World War II, they hired a great fraction of Nazi Germany.
No. This is before. This is before.
Well, before. The public data says after, but the class we found that they were definitely in cahoots the whole time. But with that, like the subject is presented in the class right now, but I'm finding that they have a heavy influence in like medicine, like opium, like the opiate.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Cool. We gonna get there. We gonna get there. Right now, we dealing with schizophrenia and all of this good stuff. To deal with the class, and that's it. This is 1938. You said this is after the war, but this is 1938. There is no Germany at this time.
Very well.
So Operation Paperclip is what?
No. In short, word, Operation Paperclip is a term that's like was like a post World War II term.
No. It's an operation that the military said happened, and what happened?
Oh no! In short, this is when they hired German scientists and engineers, like 1600 Nazi scientists, engineers, and doctors,
And chemists and things of this nature, right?
Yeah.
Okay, these are the exterminators. These are your exterminators right there. I said those would be your exterminators right there. All the biochemistry, all the different things that was going in. They trying to exterminate them at that point. Go ahead.
I guess they had to, like for the theater of war, they had to portray that. I guess they destroyed these people.
Yeah, they had to say they went to war. They went to war. They died in war. They died in war. This is the story. All them black people died in war. That's it. They were sailors. They went off to war and they died in war, and that's that. That's the story.
Okay.
And what happened to them? They were exterminated. Thank you for the call, champion. Let's stay focused. These tests was already being done right here in the Americas before and all this. So in my brain, I'm letting you know that all of this was going on before Operation Paperclip and all the things they said they needed chemists and the drugs and all of these things. No. It's starting to look like the hood was a real project to pass this off as, look at this, pseudo-echopraxia. Repetition is present, but performance is spontaneous, suggestible. Look, under these drugs, you're going to end up doing everything they tell you. Hypnotized. Press 1. Hypnotize. Hypnotism. It looks like they teaching them how to be human beings. Sheesh. But you do this. Say you come up and then that hurt. This hurt. Say pray. Oh my God, my knees hurt. Step up like this on the step. Put your foot down. Go down. Let the dog go this way. Right. Shake a hand down all the way down. This is how you move. Look. Put your feet out. Look. Man. Kind of like Apple Kappa Kappa dances when y'all go to them schools. Press 1. Hit the light. hit the like button and subscribe, nigga. That boy KevRow, just like them Alpha Kappa dances, y'all. That's the only thing that look like the shit on them Egyptian walls that Jabari speak of. This is why I love my channel. Cause look at all this truth that's out here. You know, don't call my show. I'm not even looking for no callers. I didn't say, you know, I want to accept the calls, but guess what? Kev is restructuring his whole show. So bear with me, callers. I'm not even taking no calls. I'm going straight to the classroom. It's too many callers that be calling on too much other shit, and most of them is men. Press one. I'm cool. So, you know, I got to teach the sisters these things because, you know, it's up to them to get their mind right so the fellas be right behind them. Y'all got to go back to I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend ride. Trying to holler at me. That's the spirit that's right here, right now. At the U. They don't want no scrubs. And it ain't a guy hanging out the passenger side. Sometimes that's even okay, because who knows why a person ain't doing what you think is good or right or wrong. But what I'm saying is, ain't no more dumb. I don't want no dumb. A dumb is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging out the... We'll call them niggas dumb. I don't want no dumb. A dumb.
Terrible process, according to Dr. Calhoun.
The two conditions that they went through was that there was a decision.
Now we know officially that we don't want nobody who don't know. Everybody know McGraw-Hill is the guy whose name is on every book in school. Everybody right now, look at your neighbor and say,
not like this.
We already know.
Not like this.
We are, see? Look at the name. You know where you seen that name. You know damn well where you see. Everybody know this book. This guy here, McGraw-Hill. Ain't McGraw-Hill a motherfucker you always wanted to know who that motherfucker was? Well, guess what today? KevRow is going to tell you who McGraw-Hill is. Press what? Look, McGraw-Hill on social studies book. The motherfucker McGraw-Hill on social studies got an ape on the front like this. He talking about you. What's the ape to the bed? And we ain't even talking about anthropology. We ain't talking about social studies. McGraw-Hill. We all are connected by way of this social study mechanic. So we all know this. We all know this. And to new students who may be in the school system today, I don't know who names is on the front of them. But if you don't know McGraw-Hill, Google it. Google it. You ain't old enough. Yeah, look at this. Universe 25. Now watch this. Watch this. Universe 25. 1972. Fall of 1972. Universe 25. Study 102. McGraw-Hill. Scenes included The Last Survivors, like a goddamn video game. Press 1. So get y'all thinking caps on. We was born into this. I told you, Chris Cook, it's going to get ugly. But you know what? If you keep your blinders on, remember, it's only holographic past stuff. And we just on the roller coaster backwards. You ain't even got to roll no more. Kev got it. I'm just going to pull the thing and we going backwards. Press 1. Don't even waste your time. I got it. So McGraw-Hill. Remember, this is like Universal Studios. Press 1 with these special KevRow glasses. Everything look 3D. Press 1, but it's not real. Don't worry about it. Just keep all hands inside the motherfucking machine at all times. Press 1. Just make sure you keep your hands like this in front of you, like you're a Masonic person. I'm just playing. I'm just fucking with y'all. Press 1. I ain't gonna make y'all mad today. Y'all get on the roller coaster too. So keep your hands inside. Keep the 3D glasses on. McGraw is about to teach you the same stuff you didn't learn in that book because you was too busy worried about who the fuck is McGraw to tell you anything about social ability when he just raped and pillaged us. Press 1. We sitting in class like, fuck, bro. Why are they teaching? Why are they forcing me to believe I'm a monkey? Why they keep showing me rats and squirrels and shit, bro? That's how black people spend their time at schools. The fuck is all this, bro? All the white presidents and shit. Fuck all this. I'm going outside. Fuck all this, teacher. Call my mama. Woo, I love Democrat schools. The niggas do what the fuck they want to do. Yeah, just call my mom, bro. Tell her to come pick me up, bro. I'm gonna go right to fucking Burger King. I'm gonna be over there. I can't stand this shit, bro. We slaves and all of this one.
2.5 years.
So pay attention. This is really about Universe 25, the mice, and all that. That is not University 25. It's Universe 25. And we all know all of the Terminators enforce this method. Utopia. So Princella, a.k.a. T23,000, press 1. She's part of the Clones Rebellion. And you got to watch these females that's out here trying to make an all-female utopia because they brain have been put inside a simulator machine called Death Square Cube, where all the rats and shit die, and the only niggas who can make it out is the people who watched the Maze Runner a few times. Press 1. You ain't gonna make it out of Universe 25 if you don't watch KevRow. Now let's listen. Bring them notepads out.
We found Dr. John Calhoun knee-deep in mice in the mouse heaven he designed for the National Institute of Mental Health Animal Center near Washington. Dr. Calhoun...
You see that? You see how that look like bean pies, my brother? All right, and cheesecakes, my brother? Press 1. Okay? Don't do it.
Wanted to find out what would happen to a mouse colony given everything mice need.
You see? Everything mice need. Think of it, my new students, like welfare. All of the people who didn't take welfare, stand up and put your hand up. All of the people who grew up on welfare, press 2. This is a scientific truth test. If your family grew up on welfare, press 1. If they didn't, press 2. Because they used this against each other. This was the people in the ghettos grew up under this mentality, taken care of. So these rats will never know what it's like to do things on their own. Press 1 for the people who press 2. Do y'all get it? So the people in the projects that appeared to not have it all and was convinced that they didn't have it all were actually the ones who were taken care of their whole life. You got it? There's yes or no. Those rats don't know what the fuck it's like to be out in the world on their own. Them all my friends, all that shit. They'll never leave the utopia of ghetto heaven, like Tupac say. And that eventually turns into what we see in the hoods. So when Jamie Foxx in his movie has been advertised for y'all to go see it on Netflix, pay attention. It's all coming from this specific theory. You understand? So understand why your brothers over there feel like they never had enough. But Tupac say, but we always had enough. We always had it. We thought we had it rough, but we always had enough. So you got to put that into real perspective and what complexity of the mind our brothers is talking from and real psychologists is coming from when they tell you to get off of the titty in the church. It's coming from a scientific curse and even scriptures say you have been spoiled. That's given everything. The beneficiary and all that came by way of giving you everything. And a lot of things you didn't have to work for in the hoods and totally took advantage of just the ability to, and that's how our people was in the past. It wasn't welfare, it was the blessing of God. So when you misuse the blessings of God and take for granted, it causes what? Disdain, grief. And now look what white people did when they usurped the government. Never again. What? Who wants to give that up? Even at the expense of you. You don't even know what type of blessing you got. Nations will destroy you for you. That's just the point of view of the will and testament of Scripture. That's why it tells you to follow the laws so this wouldn't happen to you. So a bank couldn't come in a foreign nation and say, that's all right, we got you. Here, we can dish out the money better than you can dish it out because you're incompetent. Oh, you didn't know? Oh, let me do a test. Put this on your arm. Oh, yeah, you're incompetent. Come on this way. Let us take care of you. Pay attention.
Set living space. The result was chilling. 2.5 years ago, more than 2,000 mice were packed into Mouse City. Today, a tiny handful of survivors huddles in one corner of the city.
So what that mean? Think of it like America or the land of the freedom land. The land of the free, but freedom land. Now look, a few left and a few hot spots and corners all over the place. You got to think back then, because again, this was the utopia Disney was talking about. And it ended up being, they were doing these experiments to test it on you.
Dr. Calhoun explains what the overcrowding did to Mouse City's inhabitants.
The last 1,000 animals born never learned to develop the social behaviors.
Boom.
They never learned to be aggressive.
Boom.
Which is necessary in defense of home site.
That's right.
They never learned to court.
Court. They don't know how to deal with women correctly. Press one, and you see the men from these generations, we were born into not knowing how to deal with women correctly. You get what I'm saying? So when women see us, they like, well, you're not courting correctly. So it's because we was born in a world where that wasn't taught to us. In the same sense, these niggas on the internet say black women are too aggressive, or they wasn't taught to. Well, if you follow this study, in which is approvable, I told y'all this was a success, not a failure. This is right where they want you. Not knowing how to be a wife. Not knowing how to be in your feminine, they say, energy. You were forced into that. And everybody want to act like they don't want to know why. And I can take advantage of that and get views, and we can all clown, or we can just be real and see what Pac was talking about. We was given his hand. We didn't make it. So where in our history did it happen? Right here at the scientific study on how to break you down. And we got to be honest with that. You know what I'm saying? Like Kev wasn't born to know how to talk or nothing. Why? Because we was taken care of like this. But it was a project at the same time. So you're not guilty. But you got to understand your symptom, and don't be listening to no YouTubers get diagnosed every one of y'all at the same time when you don't. They don't even understand the scientific quantum research that went into destroying your life and not having you live in the real world and always being in a simulated test like atmosphere. You get me? It's real.
No mating. Being no mating, there were no progeny, and the older animals.
There wasn't no mating, wasn't no misogyny. Now Marys get they I mean it wasn't none of this shit, so they just wiped it out. This is what Candace and them is this is what these advertisers are pushing, male misogyny and what's manly and what's not. It's a media put down on the masculinity of male as a collective. Even though this media personality is saying, oh, the left is doing this. There's no left. Who's the left and the right? Us, the people. Every 4 years, we can change our vote. So why are they fucking us up with this mental enslavement? And why are we being so rat-like when it comes to responding? Well, the answer is you don't know what world you live in. But guess what? This is the part of the movie Morpheus comes to tell you.
Whose behavior was already becoming disrupted. They eventually reached an age too old to reproduce.
Look.
And so it was all left up to these.
They don't have kids, women. You go have an all female, and then they can convince you what? The atmosphere or the groups will convince you what? Males are needed. Now, you maybe have went through something at the time where you picked the wrong males, and males ain't shit. Just like a lot of females out here ain't shit. But we allow these tests us already in place, these mindsets, and we feed into the propaganda. Now we hanging out with niggas who don't even like females. And now y'all hanging out with females who don't even like men, and then there's no children by you. And then it's all bad.
Last time.
what old boys say, tiny draws, little draws, it's all bad, bro.
1,000 or so, whom we call the beautiful ones, because not engaging in any stressful activity and only paying attention to themselves, they groomed themselves well.
Narcissistic.
They look.
They make sure they give only about themselves. Press 1. That's it. So when you're on Instagram and you seeing these people pop up and they only really looking at themselves and the validation coming up in chat, rather really believe that, like really naturally be. A lot of that is coming from this mindset. Again, all personalities within the construct. Let's keep going.
Very fine specimen. But from that point on, which was about the time that you were here 2.5 years ago.
I'm not saying females don't look good. I'm not saying women ain't beautiful. I'm not saying, what I'm saying is the narcissistic beauty and approach where you are glorifying oneself in that comes from a project mindset. And I bet you that chemical and all that was put in your goddamn wig so you can put that little turn, that little active button, small wonder brain on, and you be out here popping and throwing your hair around that you just bought for $69.99. Press 1. To the contrary, men too. Men do the same thing. So I'm not, this is my way. I like to pick at the ladies because I'm like they little cousin and little bro, big bro. I'm just letting you know, you may not know where, and those attributes become familiar because that's what it is.
There's reproduction totally ceased, and the animals have just aged and died.
At least one human.
And that's why, what was Kevin Samuels talking? Oh, y'all gonna get old and just die. Get a dog and just see. So he's a part of that complex of propaganda that's pushing a specific statistical destruction on you. That's why all of his stats came from foreign eyes and Asian magazines that said black women are not the most beautiful women, but yet at the bottom of the barrel. Then Kev Gills finds the porn statistics. I don't know how I found that. And then I went and then the porn statistics just come out. Press one, that black women are the most watched porn people on earth. Press one. So I said, wait, but this is tripping. This is not true. I think it was on Instagram or one of these sites or something. But we brought it up here on the show, and we actually showed just how far black women were fantasized about. You know what I'm saying? So this propaganda, I realize, is all marketing, and then they end up saying, on Fresh and Fit, if you want to go viral and make a lot of money and stuff like that, you have to disrespect black women. And that right there was the eye opener, just as much as the eye opener as Meek Mill coming out saying that they get paid more to talk about drugs and violence more. So it's the same thing, and it's time we start paying attention to that on this level. Where does this psychology come from? Well, the Gillespie algorithm. Press one, patreon.com/KevRow. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm starting fresh. The Gillespie algorithm is real. We got to bring this to the forefront. That's what I bring to the community. The scientific study of your religious construct and how it is the worship of your own enslavement and destruction and sacrifice to foreign gods. Damn, hot boy. Press one.
The Eat tribe, discovered in Africa by Dr. Colin Turnbull, has gone through a similar terrible process, according to Dr. Calhoun.
The two conditions that they went through was that there was a decision on the then colonial government to make a wildlife preserve of this big valley, which was their home.
Wow, so they made a World's Fair over there. Wow.
According to Dr. Calhoun.
Wow.
The two conditions.
Wow.
The Eat tribe, discovered in Africa by Dr. Colin Turnbull,
They made a, oh my
has gone
goodness.
through a similar terrible process, according to Dr. Calhoun.
Wow.
The two conditions that they went through was that there was a decision on the then colonial government to make a wildlife preserve of this big valley.
That's the same thing the federal government did here when they seized control. All federal lands became theirs once they seized control, and that was all she wrote. And they made an amusement park and out of our natural habitat. It's the same footprint of Satan itself.
It was their home with their hunter-gatherers. They were moved up onto the mountainside and gathered together in much higher density instead of being spread out in small groups. They were all placed in one place, and also required to engage in an entirely different way of life, in which their social roles, everything they learned how to do had no meaning.
And they became European Moorish Frenchmen. This is where the French Moorish idea came from and being raised as a project, as a scientific project. I don't mean to disrespect the Moors, much respect to the Moors, but I need the Moors to understand the concept of what they think a Moor is was given to them in order to usurp the kings, the continental kings of this nation, and which I'll call Canada and South America. But you guys were a part of that invasion to usurp this nation by way of friendship treaty. So even they got to understand that they were brought out of their tribes in order to stand up by artificial intelligence. So to keep it 100, the kings and queens humans, artificial intelligence, and the workers, federal government and them, the usurpment of the royal bloodlines for the time being, royal bloodlines out of power for a while, the clones in full power raised you upward. Now you think that you are a god when you are a creation and a friend, but a mere creation of those who usurp the real gods and the lords of this land. You got me? You got to put it into perspective. So every development is the clones is right here. That's them. This is them. Oh, you can't have a soul to do these types of scientific projects on human beings just to see what happened? Or is it, like I said, racial cleansing? Either or, does it both of them is equally as terrible as the final studies is coming out. And looking back from this point of view, has been nothing but an African American Holocaust. And somebody got to explain why we ain't got shit, quoting the great Tupac Shakur.
Under those conditions, the social behavior broke down entirely. They began living. They still lived together, but their activities were just directed towards themselves.
Self-centered.
Everything you would think that's human.
Broke down the community, became self-worship, idol worship, the need to stay put. Remember, we're talking about a specific mindset to keep you complacent. Not anything else, is to make you stay put in your own mental cocoon based off a narcissistic self-worship point of view. You got it? So that's the program. This is where a young pharaoh and these ideological mindsets come from. Now, they will say the black woman is God, but he's born in the world where that mental complex was there for him already. So he don't know nothing but and then he had to find out the hard way, you know? So it's important that we remain positive and knowing it's a journey, you know, but I think I could say we're literally becoming little scientists.
Perhaps the most chilling conclusion from his Mouse City studies, says Dr. Calhoun, is that once this change in social behavior occurs, it apparently cannot be reversed.
Now, can it be reversed? Now, wait a minute.
He studies, says Dr. Calhoun, is that once this change in social behavior occurs, it apparently cannot be reversed.
Wow.
It's this fact of apparent irreversible phase shifts that gives some of us a particular concern over the fate of the human situation, because we see worldwide the breaking down of social roles, the increase in contact as a result of the breakdown of the social roles and because there are too many people, that this might lead to an overriding of our controls.
Pay attention to the words. What? Because it's not, if something happened, it's going to automatic overriding of control.
Culture and would be set into a process which would either fix us rigidly forever into some sort of global tribalism without any adaptation to change, or that would result perhaps eventually some decline, very much like we've seen here, but that postponed somewhat.
Dr. John B. Calhoun, with a very sobering look at a possible future for us. Bill Roberts from the National Institute of Mental Health Animal Center near Washington.
Dr. Calhoun, why do we have to make decisions now on our population control?
Well, the population's a very interesting one. There's a lot of talk about a population explosion. Well, there's no population explosion, at least not quite yet, and never has been, or I might say there's always been a population explosion. If we go back to about 40,000 years ago, there were perhaps 4.5 million people on Earth.
Now you see that? He's not talking about 40,000 years ago. For that construct is they're talking about the extermination. Okay, so anytime I told the class, anytime they start dealing in these time immemorials and them knowing how many people was on the earth at this time and all of this, it's almost embarrassing to go back at our intelligence now and look back and say, wow, we were really brought low as intelligence, and look how far we came mentally. I mean, I ain't graduated nothing on this earth, but guess what? I can see this.
There'd been not many fewer than this for the previous 2 million years of man's evolution. And then suddenly, the numbers began to increase, and perhaps a little crude drawing here will show this. These are in millions now, and this is 1, 10, 100 million, 1 billion, and we go up above here. And if we take a time scale here, an inverse log, if we go back to 100,000 years ago, and we go back to, we'll make this then to 10,000 years ago, to 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, then 100, which is 1/10 to 1 year from some time in the future. So these are in time, in thousands of years. And if we look at population growth in this way, starting back about 40,000 years ago, population starting at about here has gone roughly along this direction. Now, this is a rather complex curve. It's a von Forster curve, but simply said, starting here at 40,000 years ago, it took about 20,000 years, about 20,000 years for the population to double. Then the next doubling required about 10,000 years. Then each doubling, 5,000 years to the next doubling, 2,500, and so on.
What doubling are we in now, Doctor?
We're in the 10th doubling, in the 11th doubling.
Is that the final one?
Well, pretty near, it might be. The final doubling, starting shortly after the next, up here. We're up in here, scale about right, at which the world population might be of the order of 4.5 billion now.
So as you can see, all of these things about extermination is all based off of what's the 0 point. You see where he talking about time and what else? What does he put up here? Because I went to the restroom. What is he measuring here? Let me go back.
1,000 years ago, there were perhaps 4.5 million.
Damn, we may have solved their master equation. Lord have mercy.
People on Earth.
Listen.
And it had been not
what is it?
Many fewer than this for the previous 2 million years of man's evolution. And then suddenly, the numbers began to increase. And perhaps a little crude drawing here will show this.
Okay, what's that?
These are in millions now.
Millions.
And this is 1.
Oh, that's memorial.
100 million.
All right, Brazil.
1 billion.
There's the people.
We go up above here.
All right.
And if we take a time scale here,
okay,
an inverse log, if we go back to 100,000 years ago.
What did he say? Inverse. Oh my goodness.
And we go up above here.
It's an inverted sense of reality. Look.
And if we take a time scale here, an inverse log, if we go back.
We're actually, oh my goodness. We didn't. Time travel. We said time.
To 100,000 years ago, and we go back to, we'll make this then to 10,000 years ago,
I don't
1,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, then 100, which is 1/10 to 1 year from some time in the future.
Uh-huh.
So these are in time, in thousands of years.
Go ahead.
And if we look at population growth in this way, starting back about 40,000 years ago, population starting at about here has gone roughly along this direction. Now, this is a rather complex curve. It's a von Forster curve.
He was straight to fuck up.
Simply said, starting here at 40,000 years ago, it took about 20,000 years.
Look at this.
Just back far. About 20,000.
I promise y'all, family. Woo! I got the whole American system in my hand. Like, wait a minute, bro. This shit look tricky as bro. They don't even say nothing about no 40,000 years. About nothing right there, Mr. Roger. Woo!
Years for the population to double. Then the next doubling required about 10,000 years. Then each doubling, 5,000 years to the next doubling, 2,500, and so on.
What doubling are we in now, Doctor?
He said, what doubling are we in? Oh. Oh boy, I wish I would have asked questions in school like a motherfucker. Sir, what doubling is we in now? Oh my goodness, that's hilarious to me.
It took about 20,000 years.
He break this shit down. You damn right I'm a professor. If this is a doctor and a professor, you damn right now I'm a fucking nigga, I'm a space engineer compared to this shit, nigga.
About 20,000 years for the population to double.
All right.
Then the next doubling required about 10,000 years.
Watch this one.
Then each doubling, 5,000 years to the next doubling, 2,500, and so on.
What doubling are we in now, Doctor?
We're in the 10th doubling, the 11th doubling.
The 11th doubling.
Is that the final one?
Well,
Conor McGregor is from Dublin, Italy. And where they from? They swear they the Irish, the Fighting Irish. Woo, Dublin, Ireland. He said, "Is this what Dublin are we in right now? Is this the?"
Pretty near, it might be.
Oh my
500 and so on.
What doubling are we in now, Doctor?
We're in the 10th doubling.
We're in the worst doubling they can be in, nigga.
Is that the final one?
Well, pretty near, it might be. The final doubling, starting shortly after the next
reset.
Here.
Say it. Tataria. Say the shit.
We're up in here.
Go ahead.
Scale about right. At which the world population might be of the order of 4.5 billion now.
We in
people
4.5 billion.
Would require only 20 years to double. So starting from 20,000 years for the first doubling up to about 20 years if this historical process.
And now this problem is people don't die during this doubling. Press one.
Continues. No, so that we're back here a little ways from that, not very far from early in the next century.
Can it be mathematically projected, Doctor, on a calendar year perhaps when the population reaches the point where it outstrips our natural resources, our power supplies, our food supply?
When you say mathematics...
This is where supreme mathematics came from. Press one. Choke no joke. Come here. Cug got his math from Mr. Rogers. Press one.
Not like this.
Sodnetta and them.
Not like this.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Art, bro. Hey, Cug over there. Cug, they over there daydreaming with Mr. Rogers' blood on the set. They whole kingdom is full of puppets and trains made from San Francisco. Hey, listen here, you little Muppet babies. Press one. Oscar the Grouch is up. Press one. For the simple fact, y'all up here calling people white.
Projected, doctor, on a calendar year perhaps when the population...
Yeah, choke no joke. Look, he holding up the Nazi.
Not like this. Not like this.
Death squared. Oh, we missed the whole thing. Press 1. Oh, I knew it. You some of my guns. You some of my bitches. Press 1. I woke up like this. I told you. We gonna figure out why they hold their hand up at 45-degree angle. Ah! Press 1. Y'all are in big trouble. Cause guess what? I'm telling. I'm waiting on y'all to get better. I'm telling. Y'all been doing this for quite some time.
Process continue.
So the swastika, and to have your hand directly straight up like that. Now
you know. 20 years.
Now you know with the whole baseball game
to double.
Is
so
all.
Starting from 20,000 years for the first doubling up to about 20 years if this historical process.
Press 1. So what you watching is the reason why you in the box. You see, Kev got you. Look what I done did today. We came on singing and karaoke. You see how full of life it's not hard to give you the truth. The thing that makes it hard is when people call my show to distract me from being myself. To take the conversation away, whatever I'm talking about, to put it on what they talking about. Well, guess what? Mr. Gillespie have arrived, and I'm here to let you know the reason why they hold their hand up this way. It's the same reason they play baseball. Press 1. It's the cube. Death square. Press 1. Kevin Gillespie. In Pandora's box. Press 1.
Not like
Y'all
this.
ain't ready. Let's see. I got to do theatrics
Not
too.
like this.
You see. They got smoke bombs and CGI. We got reality. Press 1. Kev is dealing on a whole nother level. See. I told you I'm better. Time immemorial. Time and space. These are all riddles to the great riddle of them all. Press 1. Press 1. Lord, if it ain't live, it ain't me. Jeez. I'm going to stop right here. Because my classroom, they spoiled. And I know that their minds don't go too far. And I'm not made to go too far. How long I been up here? 2 hours and 7 minutes. That's good enough. Now you see why they do this. This alone is boxes on top of boxes. This should solve the riddles to all of it that you've been thinking about this whole time. No, they did not. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. It's time you just face the truth. I'm right. Okay? Hit that like button and subscribe. Now, I want to give a shout out to all those people who hit up my Cash App this morning that helped this truth, which is some of the greatest truth you ever gonna come across on earth. I'm gonna take it slow, so people don't try to move ahead or think they further, or we don't leave no child left behind. We right here in one mental space. Now, if you want to call in and talk about what I just broke down, you have roughly 15 minutes and talk about, oh shit, my bad, 15 minutes to go. Other than that, I'm up out of here. Press 1. Your boy Kev Gills did a great job today at you knowing why they hold the hand up at the 45-degree angle. Okay? I don't got to go into the next truth until you understand what this truth is. Okay? This is the box.